Stupid. Guys, what's going on? For those people that were in the chat before, sorry, we just did a quick restart because of, Windows 10 Creator Edition. Played with my settings. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks.
Windows 10 Creator created some havoc is what it did?
Yeah, Windows 10 Creator Edition did not play nice with my settings. They changed some driver names, and I have to reset all the audio. But that's what happens when you do everything live. What can you do? Way. Yeah, right? What's who's that guy that just got fired on Fox?
I didn't know anyone just got fired.
Oh, really? Somebody got fired on Fox?
No, the TV news anchor that's always feuding with Jon Stewart and them. Like, was it Bill O'Reilly or something like that?
Oh, really? He just got fired? No, I didn't know that.
Remember when he's just like, remember that old clip when he's just like, fuck it, we're doing it live. That's what we're doing here. So welcome to Bad Publicity Arkham Files. The Dunwich Investigators Guardian Take 2. Whew, that's a mouthful. Hopefully everything's working out. If you can't hear us in the chat, please let us know if you're rocking technical difficulties. Dragon's back, so that's good. All right, so let's do this for real this time, right? So Dunwich brought in Zoey. So let's off the top. John, what's your feelings here on Zoey compared to Roland? What's your heart tell you, buddy?
So I'm feeling she's a good variety in terms of different play style. I feel Roland is still the better character overall, and probably in terms of usefulness is way better. But Zoey tends to provide, I think, more survivability, and mainly a different play style. That's my summary in quick, 15 seconds.
I definitely like Roland's ability better. I like the after you defeat an enemy, discover a clue. I think that balances him out very nicely. Zoey's gaining resources, I really didn't feel like. Obviously, resources are nice to have, but I really didn't feel super resource strapped. I try and balance that stuff out in my deck building, and I mean, there's always some way around it. Shomar, you're usually you've dabbled in Guardian as well. What's your take on this?
I kind of agree with you guys, and I also disagree with you guys in the same breath. I agree in the sense that she is an increase in the level of survivability for the Guardian class. I wouldn't say that Roland's clear-cut better than she is because of the set of cards that she brings in with her. So in terms of her weakness and her signature card that she is able to play, I think that those really help to swing the pendulum onto her side in making her better. She has the +1 willpower, which is great. She has the +1 sanity, which is also great. Unfortunately, she does suffer in the lore by 1 point, but other than that, their stats are very similar. And like you said, getting the +1 clue is definitely better. And currently, we don't have too much to spend resources on. And a lot of the times, you'll be sitting on a whole pile of them with nothing really to spend them on. But as we see when we look into her signature cards that come along with her, those resources do get put to use pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, it was nice to see, and I think it balances things out because Ashcan Pete, I'm playing. I played him through my first playthrough, my main one that I'm playing, and that guy can carry his weight as in the combat sector. So you really didn't need someone as powerful, I feel, as what Roland was bringing to the table. But I do like the fact that Zoey's deck building options are a little more robust and expandable. There's a couple of good cards in Survivor that usually like to play. Like Lucky is really powerful. So the ability to pull that into any deck, I feel, is great.
Mm-hmm.
John, anything else from you straight up on Zoey's stats in particular, and then we can talk about comparing the weaknesses.
No, like I said, I covered. I think in terms of, like you said, survivability, she's a little bit better, right? She does get the +1 brains, which Roland, that's where he tends to suffer at. He tends to take the brain trauma adds up on him not pretty quickly, but it's a pretty fine line between doing okay and then all of a sudden, in panic mode, trying to avoid horror, right? So, no, that's about it, pretty much.
Yeah, and as Shomar can attest to, one horror can make a world of difference.
It's very true, man.
Looking at her weakness, this Smite the Wicked, what's your guys' thoughts here?
Best weakness ever. I feel like it's if you can think weaknesses are good, I feel like this one is, for the most part, it gets put onto an enemy. Usually, for the most part, that enemy's got to die somewhere down the line. You're gonna have to kill it. Either it's a goal or you're gonna have to move through it. So I can't see this triggering at all for the most part, unless you're drawing this on the last 2 or 3 turns of the game.
Mm.
So compared to Roland's weakness, where it can put you in a tight bind, it puts the group in a tight bind. This is great compared to Roland's weakness.
I mean, the one thing too is that I find with this weakness that the encounter deck, I am not really worried so much about
the monsters?
Yeah, enemy cards, right? So when this weakness comes up and it's like discard cards until you find an enemy, I'm just like, oh yeah, shit, I'm glad that I don't have to deal with those ones, oh, here's an enemy, put it in play, right? Like sometimes you can get past those other encounter cards that are testing your doing the skill checks or locking down locations and just being more of a pain in the ass than an enemy would be.
Right.
So yeah, I feel that I like this, as much as as much as you can like a weakness.
You can like a weakness, right?
Yeah.
So that means +1 for Zoey over Roland in terms of weaknesses.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I don't really, I haven't really let the weakness play into account in me picking a hero yet. I kind of don't really include those in my factors, like their bonus and their weaknesses. But this one here is definitely a good one. You don't have to spend 2 actions or something to burn it off or anything like that. I mean, obviously the downfall, 1 mental trauma, if you can't get rid of it, sucks. Especially if your scenario is out of control.
Yeah, but I feel like you get that 1 mental trauma and it just drops her back down to Roland range.
Yeah,
Whereas if it was just Roland suffering 1 mental trauma, then oh god, it's not good. But she's still okay if you can't, for whatever reason, somehow, I don't know, like you flip this weakness at the end of the game when you guys are about to win and somebody has to go in 10 minutes to pick up their kid or something, and you're like, let's just not kill it. We're just gonna end it right now.
And
we all reside.
Yeah, I mean, even in that instance, it'd be fine. But otherwise, you just delay for 1 turn if you can, kill it, and then move on.
Yeah,
so really
Roland's weakness can definitely hinder if that comes out. Stopping him from getting clues is essentially stopping all progress in the game. Like with this one here, the train still moves forward. What do you guys think about her special include then?
John?
Her cross?
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I guess it's going. It chains really well with with her ability. So you're going to gain money and then you're going to spend it to deal some damage. I like it a lot. Any way to deal damage outside of your action is always really good. You know, that's why I like the upgraded version of Beat Cop is probably one of the top cards, just because of that ability to deal that single point of damage without, you know, having to do anything. So you move through a location, it engages, you get a buck, you spend the buck, and you know, hopefully the creature dies or whatever it is. So, I think it's really good in more of a not direct damage type of way, there as opposed to Roland's, which is a straight damage card. So, in the Guardian class, there is other assets that kind of replicate Roland's special. So in that case, I would also probably give the point to Zoey, just that it plays differently and it's harder to replace.
I do like the 38 though. You getting +1 attack. If there are one or more clues on this location, you get +3. Because I think Roland's that first guy in the door, right? He's the boom, you know. So you're always going to be able to get that bonus on the 38, and it still gives you that plus damage. But the
Yes.
only downfall is that it is a it has uses.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I
you
think-
compare.
Oh, sorry. Continue, John.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say you compare Roland's 38 to the 45 automatic, so you pay one more for the automatic, and kind of the only kind of difference is you don't get you don't get the +3 if you come across a location with clues on it. So, you know, I kind of feel, yeah, the bonus is great, but it is replaceable in a deck, right? Whereas I feel like Zoey just, you know, having that and Beat Cop out becomes quite silly.
yeah.
Right? You're just picking things while you're just walking along, just slapping things as you go. So,
Do you guys like the versatility of the 38 as a skill? Like, obviously, I don't think you're going to try and use these items as skill checks, but I mean, taking that into account, if you are in a pinch, the 38 has combat, agility, and a question mark. This is Zoey's cross is 2 combat, and
a question mark.
and the wild.
right.
Zoey's is better.
Oh, really? I don't know.
I-
I kind of like variety. I kind of like being able to cover all my bases. So, I kind of, if we're just talking about straight, what would I like on my cards? I'd take Roland's 38 over Zoey's just for the rainbow of symbols.
Yeah, because I guess you could turn Roland's into +2 fighter, +2 agility for yourself or for other players. But my thing in terms of deciding which one is better with their asset package. So Roland's costs 3, and we said that it has 4 uses. Zoey's costs 1. So as soon as you draw it, you can play it. And you can play it off of just your refresh, getting the 2 resources, the 1 resource and moving into the next round. So I think that alone, the fact that you can play it just from cycling turns, makes it great. Number 2, most people are going to play Zoey with a machete, and we know that machete, when you engage an enemy, makes it far better than when you're swinging at an enemy that you're not engaged with. So it immediately couples with that. You're gaining a credit for You're gaining a resource for engaging. You're spending that right away to deal 1 damage, and then your next action can be to chop it with the machete, and you're doing tons of damage. Whereas Roland, first of all, needs the $3, and then he needs to be at a location where he has clues at the location for +3 fight and just the +1 damage. I think Zoey covers that much easier, and when you couple her with with somebody like Agnes, and you're getting free pings on enemies, I mean, the encounter phase is pretty much a joke for Zoey, because if she ever pulls rats, they die right away. If she pulls a 2 HP enemy between her and Agnes, they pretty much die right away. So that's why I think that Zoey comes out on top.
I like Roland as I think this is they've done a good way to balance it, because I like Roland's stats and his ability better than I like Zoey's, but I do think Zoey has the better special cards. Um, to me, where this cross stands out over the 38 so far is the piece that we haven't talked about, is that it doesn't use a hand slot. I really like that it's the amulet necklace slot that is taken up, so it allows me to be a lot more versatility. And yeah, like you touched on, Shomar, obviously machete is one of the best weapons in the game.
Godlike.
Yeah. So, it's it's really hard to decide if your hands are already full and you still have charges and you want to get that machete into play. But with Zoey, you're obviously wide open. So, and I think that's the neat balance between the two. But I don't know. I'm tried, tested, and true with Roland. Something about that FBI, the popped collar, the.
I just kind of based it off of when I played Roland. And I played him through a number of scenarios. There was only one game where I actually put his 38 special on the table. All the other times, I either chucked it to help somebody else with a skill check or chucked it on my own because it was just like, I can play the automatic and I'm good type of thing. Or I can play this machete and I'm good. So when you're tossing your special card because you don't care about it, I think that says something about the character that's being played. That's just,
Okay, got it.
Cool. All right, guys.
So the all-important question: where does this go on our list? Where the inaugural card on the Arkham Horror rating list?
I don't know if you can rate this, man. These are too good compared to the other stuff, and plus it's an auto include, so you don't have a choice.
No. Okay, so what about Zoey in general? Where does Zoey fit on this? Let's drop the. We'll take it as a whole package for characters, anyways. We'll say where does Zoey fit on the list?
Zoey.
I think I'd put her as a good. I don't think she's great.
No.
Right, but she's versatile. She provides a different play style. I think she's good.
I agree. I don't think she's not. She's not tipping the scales over, but she's really good.
I know that I say that that Zoey's better, but I think right out of the box you'd probably put Roland as one of the best investigators to use, and he might fall into the great category. And I think, even though I think she's personally better, I think that it's fair to put her as good one slot behind Roland, if we're assuming that Roland would be considered great.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good fit.
All right, guys, so into our sheets here. This is what we're looking at. We're going to build this living tier system. You'll be able to get the link in the description and follow along. This will change and fluctuate as packs come out. Obviously, we're going to be looking at Dunwich to Blood on the Altar, so the first half of this series, as we are playing catch-up with a couple packs, but there's not so many cards out that we can't take a full look at all of those right now. But this is only for Guardian that we're getting into. Okay, so as we have done that, let's dive into our first card, which is Blackjack. Blackjack.
Bandolier, no?
Where?
Oh, sorry, Bandolier is an upgrade, is it? I thought it was Bandolier the first card.
Where are you looking? Dunwich Legacy.
Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at Essex. My bad. Sorry.
All right, so Blackjack is one-handed. It costs 1 to put into play. We have 1 combat symbol there, and item, weapon, melee. Fight. You get +1 combat for this attack. If you perform this attack against an enemy engaged with another investigator and you fail, you deal no damage. Guys, where are you thinking that a card like this lands?
Can I go first, John?
Go right ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, basically, my thinking with this is we just discussed how great Machete is, right?
Yeah.
And so anytime that I see any other melee weapon, I just look at it and I think of it in terms of Machete. So this is not better than Machete. You're not going to put this in your deck over a Machete for any reason. And so just based on that alone, and the fact that it doesn't deal any positive damage, or any additional damage,
Yeah,
sorry,
I was gonna say.
I think I would drop this, and I don't want to throw this on the so far down already, but I would drop it as bad. I wouldn't say terrible. I would just say bad.
Unfortunately for me, I'm fully gonna have to agree with you. Let's run the gauntlet, right? It's gonna take a hand slot.
Yep.
I don't like that. It's doing no additional damage, right? There's no like boost, no anything associated with this. As in, like, I mean, like continuous boost of paying resources to up the value. You're basically getting your base +1.
Yeah.
I mean that's okay for the cost you're paying,
Right.
Yeah.
right? But I'm not taking this over anything that exists already.
No, I would rather chop my own teammate than play this blackjack. I'd rather take the chance and swing at an enemy, engage with my buddy, and just hope that I miss him over putting blackjack into my deck. And I think that's saying a lot.
Yeah, and then that's the street that I was actually going to go down next. Is I was going to say, even to say, like, as a skill check, I don't really care about a single combat. But I feel that most of the time when you're like fighting against somebody or attacking an enemy that is already engaged with someone else, it's like one of those scenarios where you got to do multiple damage, right? Like, it's not like, oh, this guy has like 1 health point, I better engage,
jump in and save this guy.
Yeah, like it's gotta be worth the play, right? Like, to me this is not doing enough damage to care, right? Like, if I was fighting you for like 1 damage, like, why care about saving 1 damage?
Let the guy deal with it that's already engaged with it, right?
Yeah, right. Like, if it was doing like 3 damage and then if you fail, you deal no damage. Okay, maybe at that point I'm like, hey, this is interesting. But as it stands there, I'm just like, oh my god, what is this doing? And as one of our first cards to put on the list, I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm like, I can't even say this is below average because it's just terrible.
It's just bad. It's really bad.
It's bad. All right. So it's going on the bad column, right?
Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
I meant.
Am I gonna say something different to convince people otherwise?
No.
It's
bad.
I think we're all in total agreement with this. It's bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it'll change in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, no. All right.
But when you have so many other weapon choices out there right now, especially in Guardian, now looking at that ability, it's not even good enough to take out of Guardian. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really feel like nobody's like looking at that card and is like, hey guys, Guardian has a lot of good weapons, but what would really be awesome is if I move this into another faction. And I'm like, no, right? So,
right. All right, next card.
Next card is Taunt. This is one to play, and it's an event. It's a tactic. It's fast, so hey, that's something. Play only during your turn. That kind of sucks a little. Engage any number of enemies at your location.
So.
Will in combat.
You know what? I don't think it's bad. Sometimes, so engaging an enemy that's already engaged with somebody else costs you an action, and sometimes you're very limited in terms of being able to move, engage, and you're only pretty much getting 1 attack off. This kind of allows you, for the cost of 1, to get 2 attacks off at something. So there is a little bit of opportunity in terms of, hey, I need to save my partner, I need to get this enemy out of here, that kind of thing. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's actually okay as a playable card in a deck, especially Zoey. You know, if you can pull a bunch of enemies, make a bunch of money, and then if you have to cross out, you can spit that damage back out. So I like it. It's it's not. I would say it's above average for me.
Above,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
I have to agree with John. I think this card is one that shines mostly with Zoey, and I think because of the fact that it's kind of limited in so far as which investigator it benefits, I think that really is what keeps it from being classified as good. I would also put it as above average. You can do some pretty great things with it if you are Zoey, and it would be nice even as Roland or future Guardians to have that fast ability so that you're not wasting action engaging, and then you're able to machete a bunch of times on your turn. But that being said, it is obviously best out of Zoey because you're able to, use it to engage the enemy. You're gaining the buck back right away. And then if you have the cross out, you can use that buck now to throw damage before you attack again. And so it's just ultimate efficiency, again, only if you are Zoey. And so for me, that's why I would put it as just above average.
To me, I've got the itch just to say this is an average card, and that's only because I don't know if I don't know if my play group is just that good, but there hasn't really been a time when we're swarming with enemies and I have to be like, like the guy in the picture, hey everybody over here, but I just feel that any time that we've had to use turns to engage enemies, it's or to pull an enemy off somebody and onto somebody else is very few and far between. I haven't encountered that a lot yet, but I don't know if that's just because we're very conscious of how the enemies get divvied up and things like that, or who goes into the room and engages first and does that kind of stuff. But
for me, it's not. Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, for me, it's not about maybe the action. It's more about having to deal the 2 damage and having to overspend on a check to make sure the 2 damage goes through. Sometimes I feel like, you know what, I'd rather engage and attack twice than have to do something, engage, and then be only able to attack once, which means if I need to deal the 2 damage, because most Guardian weapons will deal 2 damage, I need to double stack or overcommit on that check. So I feel like sometimes I'd rather just be, you know what, I'm going to hold on to this card and attack twice and have that work out instead.
Yeah, and I just feel like most of the time, if this was in my hand, I would be using it for skill checks and not for the ability. I look at this card, and if it was in my deck, I think this is one of the first ones that I'm like, oh, I've got some XP. Well, Taunt's gone.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it has that longevity in a campaign or something for me. But like that being said, that I to me this is very average because I find it situational. But obviously, I'm outvoted in the 3-on-1 here, and if you guys believe it is above average, we can slot it above average.
Yeah, I would still say it's above average.
Oh, I didn't sway you,
Despite its limitations, I still think it's above average.
All right.
It also makes blackjack even worse. It does.
Yeah.
If you have this in your deck, why would you ever play blackjack?
Yeah, I think it's kind of mutually exclusive.
All right. Next up on the board is teamwork. Teamwork is a 0 event with a wild skill bonus. Investigators at your location may give or trade any number of items, assets, item assets, ally assets, or resources among each other. Ooh.
I think it's, for me, the most useful part of this is probably the trading of resources.
Yeah.
That allows, we in our group we tend to have one guy with 12 resources and one guy with one.
Yeah.
So it allows you to spread it back up, share the wealth kind of thing. In terms of items and allies, I don't feel it's as useful. Usually your items and assets tend to be very focused or built around the character you're playing. So being able to pass something off to somebody, usually for the most part, you're not getting that synergy that you had with the character. That's probably why you put that asset in your deck in the first place.
Yeah.
So I don't feel it's as useful that way. If this was a fast, I think I'd give it a few more extra points, but because it does actually cost you an action, I'm not completely sold on this. I'm throwing this in the average category.
Yeah, I like the cost of it. I like the fact that it's zero. As I was going to say exactly what John said. I think most of this use would be in terms of the resources. So again, like we were saying, Zoe makes a lot of money. There are other characters that make tons of money. Like Tim's Agnes is just rolling in dough all the time. And it would be nice if you could throw some of that to your teammates and, let them be able to afford getting bigger cards out on the table. The only other use for this is like a Hail Mary during the campaign. Let's say you guys made the mistake of giving, I don't know, one of the campaign characters to the wrong deck or something, and you're like, man, we don't want it on Agnes, we need it on Roland right now, and you can switch it that way. But it's so situational again and very, very limited. And if you're gonna put this card in just so that you can give resources to your friend, then you're probably better suited to play other things. So I would even call this one a below average, but it all depends what Jameson says here.
Oh, see, there's a lot of weight on these shoulders here, man, for teamwork. Now, I am a very big advocate of teamwork, but not in the Arkham LCG sense here. I think the bigger the card pool gets, the size of the card pool we're looking at right now, I find it very hard to throw a card like this in because, again, I find this is going to be very situational when you need to pull this off. I feel that, you're really going to look at this card, like you guys said, oh, hey, you have a couple resources right now, but I need some resources. But because, A, it's not a fast ability, it's causing me an action to move this stuff around. I feel that that's not at the Guardian's best interest to play this. Like, this card does better in a more of a rogue style deck if you're moving this over, because I feel that they're the ones with all the resources. Right? I don't like my Guardian to spend an action using this ability. And I just can't. I can't get behind it. Our buddies in the chat threw an interesting use of this card up. Dragon saying that it can be pretty useful if you need to escort VIP characters out of areas, right? So some story assets, if they're attached to you, you can move that to somebody else, or I guess if a rogue wants to part with his fourth action ally,
Have my Leo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna waste an action to give you an extra action.
Yeah. Maybe he's feeling nice, but yeah, I just to me this is kind of so situational that it's got to be below average at the moment. There's just so many other choices out there to fill deck slots with that Like, come on, tell your buddies to put better cards in their deck. So John, are you okay if it sits there right now?
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. That's good. I can live with that.
All right.
I will get my revenge though. No, I'm just kidding.
So we're gonna skip the upgrade for now and come back to it. We're moving into the Miskatonic Museum cards.
Yep.
We are looking at Emergency First Aid. Emergency First Aid is a 2-cost event, giving you an investigate and an agility. Choose an investigator at your location, so any investigator. Heal 2 damage from that investigator or from an ally asset he or she controls. Thoughts?
This card's great. The fact that you can heal ally assets and just keep healing your beat cop is really good. Just I can't say anything else. Healing is good in general. So being able to heal 2 is great, but just the fact that you can heal assets is huge for this card.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's nice because now you can potentially go, 1 first aid and 1 emergency aid. I don't know if you'd just get rid of first aid completely and play 2 of these, because first aid does help with the horror, and it is able to heal other people who are suffering lots of horror damage as well. But I do like this card because it comes in at the 2 cost slot, and like John said, being able to heal allies is fantastic as well. So you get rid of that investigator limitation. You can use it on yourself, and the card art is amazing. That wound looks gross, like it smells. I think there's even a fly around it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
With that, so I think this card is a good one.
Yeah, it's like this guy, rubbing a little Robitussin here on this thing. That shit ain't doing nothing, man. Where I think this card shines is that we've seen in this game so far healing is kind of few and far between, and sometimes some of the healing stuff comes with a negative side effects, but this one is pretty much positively straight up. Heal 2 damage from any investigator you like, or an ally asset that they control. That's a nice to have.
I also like in Netrunner we called it click compression.
Yeah.
Efficiency. So rather than first aid, 1 action heal, 1 action heal, spend 1 action the same price, heal 2 damage right away, and then continue your turn and move on to bigger, better things.
Yeah.
I like how quickly it moves.
I mean, that is good. Getting that two for 1 action. But again, I'm struggling to think if this has a home in my deck. Is where I.
Okay. Does your deck run first aid? I'm assuming it does, or no?
Nah.
Care
oh,
about that.
Case, I mean, if you're not running first aid, then I don't know if this goes in either, right? If you're not running first aid, you're not running any healing, so why put this in? This, I think, you're probably running some combination of 2 and 1 or 1 and 2, or 2 something, right? You definitely. It kind of plays on the same level as first aid, depending on what you're using it for. If you tend to, spend a lot of your turns using up all your clicks, you're really tight on your clicks, then this definitely works out better than first aid. However, if you're not, first aid gives you more versatile in terms it can heal, horror and health, as well as you're getting, 1 more heal out of it for the same cost, right? So it's
first aid sits on the board though too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So it's like play, keep it there. This is like I have to either hold it and hope that some kind of mechanic doesn't pull it from my hand or force me to use it.
That is true. Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I really look at these heal cards as as good when I need it, but I don't know if I'm really relying on it or saying that it's like a necessity to have in my deck. So I struggle. Where were you guys saying? Are you both saying it's good, or are you topping right out to say this is great?
No. It's
I
definitely
don't
not
think it's
great.
good. I don't
No,
think it's good. or great.
I'm putting it at above average.
Yeah.
If we're looking at as first aid as like your healing within the game, I think it is slightly better than first aid. So I'm throwing it in above average.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can sit with that. Would you say that it's better than Taunt? Because I would.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's taunt is very situational. I cannot think of a time in a game where, besides like the first turn, where I'd be like, man,
Someone's
I
not
don't need that healing.
Yeah.
Forget it. Don't worry about it. I can do this.
No doubt.
So no, way more useful.
Okay. Brother Xavier is an upgrade, so let's come back to that one. Essex County Express. Shomar, now we're looking at your card now.
Yeah.
Bandolier.
Yep.
This is 2 cost asset, 1 combat symbol. This is a what do we call it? The torso slot.
Body slot, yeah.
Gives you 1 health. You have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a weapon asset.
At this current state in the meta, I would throw it down to bad. My reasoning for that is 1 hand slot is strictly dedicated to machete for every guardian.
Right.
And the second hand slot is dedicated to 38 special, 45 automatic.
Yep.
Not really the Derringer or Derringer. I don't know. I'm not a gun person. Whatever it's called, Derringer.
Yeah.
So you don't really need the third, and that is a very specific third. So it's not even like you could have, play it late and throw a flashlight down. Like you'd have to really set your hand up and set your order of play to make this one work specifically. Some people would argue that +1 HP. I would argue that +1 HP for $2 is not worth. It would be very unfortunate if you had this on the table, you took 1 damage, threw it on the bandolier, and then lost the weapon that you had played on this. Like, I just don't see this one going into decks right now. Eventually, when we have the 2-handed Tommy gun, the Chicago typewriter,
Yeah.
and then people are going to want the Chicago typewriter with the machete, then yes. But until that, I think bandolier sits very, very, very low.
I don't have any use for it, and the thing that I like about this game is that even though you have 2 copies of a card max in your deck, with the style of Mulligan you play at the beginning, where you draw your cards, if you can set the whole hand aside, you can draw again. Potentially, if you've pulled a weakness out, you put that aside, and you get another card. You can kind of see the card, or you have a really good chance, I feel, of getting, say, like if you have in your deck, if you have 3 must-have cards, you have a really good chance of seeing at least one of them. Now, that being said, as much as you would probably want this card in your opening hand, this would not be a card I would want in my opening hand. Because playing this as an action to set up the rest of my setup cards is not something I want to do.
No.
Especially
unless
right now.
Unless you're looking at an opening hand of like, bandolier shotgun machete or something ridiculous like that, then
Yeah.
right?
And
You're running full ash mode or something like
yeah.
that.
And then realistically, the only time that I've ever felt like I need to have the extra hand slots is mitigated because it's when I'm playing Daisy and she has her tomes and you get the bonus if you get her ability where you can just move those to her bag, right? Like the extra hand slots, and then you can either have a magnifying or maybe a little some kind of weapon if you so choose. But the only time I would really, or the only thing I would really use this for is a flashlight. And I don't think it's worth, I don't think it's worth the include just to say like, I need to use my flashlight, right? Like flashlight is good, but it's not like I need additional card slots to support the flashlight.
But that's what I mean. Even if you were to play it for flashlight, you'd have to still play in the correct order. In that, because flashlight's not a weapon. If you had two weapons out already, and then you played this and tried to play flashlight, it wouldn't work. Mm. And so the fact that this is supposed to be an early game setup card, but you don't want to see it early game, makes it very bad to me.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with my seeing this in opening hand and using it as setup slots, and like it's really hard to control the order that you get the rest of it in, and I'm just not on board with it. And unfortunately, I think this does slide down to the bad.
I agree.
I wouldn't say terrible. No, it's bad. It's not terrible. I agree.
I will say that it's better than Blackjack.
Well, I mean, yeah.
John, do you have anything to say about this one, or are you just kind of...
No, you guys covered it all. I completely agree with you guys where it's getting placed right now.
All right.
This one would be an interesting card to look at down the line and see how much it shifts, though.
Yeah. So that was Essex County. Blood at the Altar offered our next card that we're taking a look at, called Prepared for the Worst. Prepared for the Worst. Oh man, there's no image here. Is a Guardian card. It costs 1. It has test icons of investigate and combat. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a weapon asset and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Cost 1. This is really ridiculous because essentially, like, this is so. Let's say on average, like, you haven't been that guy that, like, every time there's a story asset, you're like, yeah, I'm that guy that steals it, adds it to my deck. So let's roughly say, for the sake of simplicity, you have a 30 card deck. Okay? I know it's like 32 or stuff, but let's round. Let's just play with even numbers. This is essentially like taking your starting hand out of 5 cards, and then if you were to play this card after, you're essentially searching more than 1/3 of your deck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that ridiculous?
Oh, this card is this is amazing. Like, can you imagine Netrunner where you're like, search 1/3 of your deck, find a card you want to take and then put it into your hand. No, this card is amazing, especially in this class where you want to find your weapons off the bat. You want them out early, so you can set up. This is really good, and for the fact that it costs 1, it's so cheap.
It's nuts.
So that being said, so right away, it tilts this for me to right ups into the positives.
Yep.
But if I get this late game, I feel like I should already somewhat be set up. How are you guys feeling the test icons? Like, you think that that balances a card like this?
I think for this, because it's the Guardian class, and we know that the Guardian class does one thing really well and one thing very poorly. They fight very well, and so when you need that extra bump for fight, it got you there if you draw late game. And they investigate very poorly, and so do or die, Hail Mary, investigate. You draw prepared for the worst late game, and it's got you on that as well. So I think that that icon spread, in terms of test icons that you can throw down on the table, is fantastic.
I mean, I agree too. And even, even late game, a lot of the Guardian weapons are ammo based, so you tend to run out of them, right? So, being able to find another weapon to play, even though it may cost you, may also mean you don't have to run, say, reload or something like that. So it does give your deck more play options as well.
Yeah, I really like this card. Like you were saying, now it affords you the opportunity to, when you draw your opening hand, if you see this, you can mulligan and not necessarily have to look for a weapon. You can look for the other options that are going to speed your deck up. Because you know that turn one you can play this, search the next 9. So that's like, let's say you held 1 and mulligan the rest. So you're searching like 14, 13 cards, whatever, like 40% of your deck. And you're going to find the weapon that you need. And it just makes it crazy, crazy fast. Again, that is if you're able to, in your opening hand or mulligan, find one of these. And I think in a 30-card deck, you're going to find this very often to start the game.
Are you putting two? Are you putting 2 in?
I would personally play 2. If you play 1, it's not worth it because you draw the 1 late game. You want to draw 2 because you want to see it every game and you want to see it as early as possible. I played way too many games where my machete just sat bottom couple cards of my deck or like middle of my deck, and I'm not using actions to draw. Very rarely do we use actions to draw. Well, personally, I don't. I try to use locations and whatever else to remain the most efficient. So I think you got to play 2. And get rid of like 1 first aid or emergency aid or something.
Interesting comment from the chat is you can play this late game to bury the weakness cards you haven't drawn yet.
It is a reshuffle though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's reshuffle.
Yeah, it is a reshuffle, so it doesn't remove everything. So your deck does get shuffled. So it doesn't really work that way, sadly.
Well, I mean, you get to see them and then hopefully shuffle them and get a good cut to the bottom.
Yeah, if it's coming up, right? So, so where you guys, I've heard a lot of positives, not a lot of negatives. So is this crept up the scale?
I'm going to say great. I'm going.
Oh, he did it!
I'm going with first card in the great column.
He did it. No, I can't say great, and the reason why I can't say great is because we just discussed how late game this isn't a card that you're going to be pumped to draw, and I think the great category is reserved for cards that are useful all the time, no matter what scenario it is, no matter what stage of the scenario. You draw it, and you're like, "Yo, this is getting played no matter what." And I think if we had a category in between great and good, very good, there. But since we just got good, I would put it as good for that reason, because I haven't seen a card yet, or maybe there's a couple in the core set, but there's no card yet that I think you draw at any time in the game and like, this is an automatic play. This has to go right now. It doesn't matter what the board state is, it's going in. And for that reason alone, and maybe you guys might not agree with me, but I think that's why it's limited to just being good.
I'm tempted to hold it back as well, and that's because oh man,
Down again, James.
I'm like Captain Negative when it comes to this stuff, man. I feel it's a good card, but yeah, I feel that again. I'm limited to when I want to play it. Like if I'm already set up, and it's borderline for me. It can go either way here, good or great.
Well,
And
you got the final say, man.
I don't know. I don't want to be the hammer
Slay the
anymore.
vote.
I want to go first from now on. I do think it's good because I don't know if I can say it's that great a card. Part of me feels like being a great card at the beginner level too is cards that maybe other people would want to pull out a faction to, and I don't even know if this is something that that you would want to do that with.
Actually, when considering that, I kind of agree more with John because
Oh
if
shit!
if in the future
Yeah,
you're playing,
yeah.
if in the future you're playing Rogue or you're playing Survivor, that affords you the opportunity to pull in level 0 Guardian cards, you're gonna pull for this because those factions also have, like, for example, if you're playing Ashcan, you're gonna want to pull in Fire Axe, and you're gonna want to find Fire Axe like ASAP. And if you're playing green, then you've got the Switchblade, you've got the Derringer, and I'm sure there's gonna be more down the road. And if you're playing neutrals, you've got like Kukri and things like that, for those decks that aren't necessarily always trying to fight, but might need, a little bit of pocket sand to throw at an enemy. So in that sense, I can see it being great because it is getting pulled into everything.
All right, all right.
But I don't know. I would still say good. I'm just saying I can see what John's talking about.
No, it's in there. It's a great card.
Yeah.
I accept.
All right, so what we have here is our layout of. It doesn't really look like a lot of cards, but those are your basic ones for Dunwich. Let's go back and take a peek at some of the upgrades here now. Get our way back playback. Go back to Dunwich Legacy box, and we're looking at Taunt. Taunt is a card that costs 2 experience. This is the upgraded version. Will, combat, agility, play as a fast, engage any number of enemies at your location. Okay. Draw 1 card for each enemy engaged this way.
So much better.
This is definitely a lot better. Now Taunt was above average originally.
I still don't know if it's enough to push it into the next category.
Yeah.
I would still put this as above average.
Yeah,
Too, but I'm saying it's much better.
It
And
is definitely much better. Yeah.
I
But
don't.
I also don't know if I'm spending 2 XP on this.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what hurts. It's like, I don't know.
Does that hurt it more than it is? Like, does that drop it to, like, if you're looking at two experience points, does this push it to an average card?
That
That's
is also
interesting.
something to consider.
And that's why we have to look at these upgraded cards on their own plane, because for me, I don't know if that's worth it, because I would say for 2 experience, I would want to be like, hey, give me like 4 or 5 guys. I need to pull it because I need to get my money's worth. I need bang for my buck here, guys.
Yeah. My thing is, when you get 2 XP out of Guardian, you're going for the upgraded B Cop. You're not choosing this over an upgraded B Cop, in my opinion. There's also Police Badge, which is 2, and I think that those 2 cards, B Cop upgraded and Police Badge, are far better than the upgraded version of Taunt. In a perfect world, you're gonna draw maybe 2 cards. You're always gonna draw 1, and it's fast, but is it really worth it?
This
I
has
don't
an
think-
agility symbol in your skill checks, but I still don't think. To me, I'm looking at this, and I unfortunately I want to tell you that it's below average for what you're getting here.
I agree. For 1 extra XP, you can get an Elder Sign to give yourself 4 more sanity.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not saying I don't think it's bad, because in those certain situations, the draw is cool, and is needed. it's still
I don't-
it's still a fast ability. So I mean, essentially, you're getting draw off for free off a non-action for the cost of 1. That's good. I mean, the skill checks are okay as an addition, but I mean, I don't think what you're getting. I don't really believe I'm looking at this card to spend 2 XP on, unless it's like shit, like way late in the campaign, and I'm like Scrooge McDuck. I'm like swimming in experience points, and I'm just like, just give me something. Oh, give me 2 taunts. Here's 4 experience. Give it, right? But like, I don't see myself spending XP on this. I don't think it's worth it.
I agree with you.
I agree.
You guys so below average. Boom.
Below average it is. Yeah.
Taunt. Maybe it should have been 1. Maybe that would have.
I think 1 would have been fair. No one's going to use this to engage more than 2 enemies.
Yeah, like how many do you think you're really going to like?
Yeah, then you put yourself in a shitty situation where you're just going to get bodied and die. So no one's doing that unless like again, I always use the term Hail Mary play if you're doing like was it Miskatonic Museum where you got to run out the front door. All right, I'm gonna engage everybody, and you guys just gun it. Get out of here. Like that's the only time that you're gonna go for more than 2, I think. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Now, just to kind of think of the future and stuff like that. The Arkham Horror, the card game, did have a flamethrower weapon, which so down the line, if we start getting weapons where you deal damage to all enemies engaged with you, stuff like this might become very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also going to be like 8 resources.
Guys, in the Miskatonic pack, Brother Xavier was introduced. Kind of this spooky little art here. He was an ally.
He was like Rasputin or something like that.
Yeah, he's an ally with pretty good stats, right? Like 3 and 3. He costs 5. Holy Toledo. He's 1 experience. You get +1 will. Brother Xavier may be assigned damage and or horror dealt to other investigators at your location. Reoccurring effect: when Brother Xavier is defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. Yeah, so I wanted to say first off the bat that this sounds really cool, but being an ally, this is not the go-to ally in Guardian.
So I was going to say.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was going to say that, but I think, and we'll probably discuss this way down the road when we get to neutrals, but I think that's what makes a card like Charisma really shine, and being able to have 2 allies. If you could afford somehow to get Brother Xavier out to protect your party while still having Beat Cop and Guard Dog doing their thing, taking hits for the team, then Guardian becomes very, very powerful. But if you're not playing Charisma, then I don't really see him getting thrown in over the other options at Ally currently. He just costs too much and he doesn't do enough. He dies and does 2 damage to an enemy at your location. That's great, but at this point, I don't want to spend 5 for him to die and do 2 damage.
Right.
Yeah. And what's really weird is the it uses the reoccurring arrow, right? Like the free effect or whatever it is, and when really it's like a one-time use thing, It's like, hey, he's defeated. It's not like I can reuse him again.
Right.
It does open up for future builds, though. I think that part is cool. It changes the playstyle, so you can go like a straight tank where this whole campaign we're not killing any of the big bosses. We're just gonna tank the shit out of them, investigate, do things we have to do, and move on the other way, because you play Brother Xavier and Emergency Aid, and you keep rejuvenating him, and then taking that damage from other people, and it affords you guys the opportunity to stay alive a lot longer and do much more things. In that sense, it's cool, but I would still say that this is below average.
Below average?
It's currently not average to me, because I haven't seen a scenario where it's like
needed,
where I really, really need to tank damage for my buddy. I know that in them releasing this, that's going to happen in the future, where some hard-hitting beast is going to come out, and this guy's going to be fantastic. But until then, and because this is a living tier list, I don't think that he deserves to be anywhere above the yellow or beige average.
To me, I like the will, the +1 to will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like his skill check stats being only one slot. I like his 3 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cost. It's just that 5. I like in Guardian. Are you?
In Guardians, you're spending so much money on your guns already.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have the money to pay for this. You're paying for, your weapons plus your beat cops, plus your reloads if you need them. I don't think you have the money to pay on top of to get those out, to pay to put this guy out just for, the defensive bonuses, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have to fully agree and that's where I'm struggling. I don't know if this is an average card, or if it does tip the needle below, because I feel that. There's no way.
I'm honestly for this. I'm going below average right now.
Right now.
Right now, it might change down the line, but right now, this is sitting at a below average for me.
All right. If, like I said, the only thing that's pulling it up for me is the
+1 will.
It's the damage and horror dealt to other investigators.
But here's the thing. So when you're playing Guardian,
you're kind of off on your own anyway.
You're off on your own, kind of. And you guys are doing the best to make sure that enemies are being spawned in areas that are going to keep away from your squishy characters. And so there's never really a time when, well, I guess that does happen from time to time, but it's not going to happen often enough where you need to dedicate an ally slot to protecting people. If you want to protect somebody, you do it the old-fashioned way. You engage them and you hold on to that. And I guess this mitigates like bad encounter flops where other characters are getting their asses beat by the encounter deck. But in terms of dealing with monsters and things like that, I don't think that it's really that necessary.
Yeah.
As it stands.
Yeah. I agree. We'll go below average on it. I can see that. I can see it being better than Taunt level 2, though.
Yes. They're like very close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's slim, but it wins out. Okay, so that was in Miskatonic Museum. Let's look at Essex. Actually, let me double check. Yeah, it was 2 cards there. Essex. Essex introduced Stand Together. This is a level 3 experience event. This is a 0 cost, 2 wills added on skill checks. Choose another investigator at your location. Both you and that investigator draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources.
Great.
This is an interesting card for me because I feel that I feel that they're trying to put a support card into a Guardian deck, and it's just a faction that is not support.
No. The support is a bonus.
Yeah.
If you talk about, so both you and the investigator draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources. Even if you had to do this on your own, for one action you just drew 2 cards and gained 2 resources. That's 4 actions. That's you can't get that out of 1 turn.
No, but keep in mind, right? Way back playback, when Shomar just said that Guardian is usually off on their own in the last one. So how many times are you going to be able to trigger this and get that huge value out of it?
Even if I don't.
A lot.
Even if I don't, playing this for no cost is pretty much giving me more than I can get in one turn. Right? I could play this, draw my 2 cards, get my 2 resources, put out a weapon, and still attack in one turn. Assuming there's nobody else with me and that other person isn't getting the bonus as well. Right? So the only thing this costs you is 3 XP. Yes, it's pricey, but once it's in your deck, this is costing you nothing to get so much click. Yeah. I just said click, but action efficiency.
So I'm playing devil's advocate on it just to spark the discussion. I think this is good. This is a good card. I am trying to debate where it would rank because it is at its price that it is. 3.
Even at 3, it's worth.
Yeah.
It's worth going into like great territory?
If you're getting, let's think of it in Netrunner terms. Card in a buck is the best thing. Card in a buck is fantastic. All right.
Not if you're pro going.
This is giving you 2 cards and $2, and it's not only giving it to you; it's giving it to you and your friend. So unless you're playing a solo campaign, then solo campaign trash, obviously. 2 players, it might be rough because how often you guys can sit together, you need to explore the map. But once you get into 3 and 4, which is the sweet spot of this game, the 3, chances are someone's gonna be very close to you, and you're able to table talk enough and be like, if somebody can get to my location, I think I could help you out a little bit, like whatever, and drop those little hints. And sure enough, somebody will come running, and that 2 cards and $2 will go a very, very long way. Every game, no matter how late, how early, whatever, any stage of the game, that's going to be fantastic. Especially when it comes to like the end of a scenario where you're in a big boss fight and everyone's in the same room anyways, or the same general area. 2 cards and $2 is going to come in very handy, I think. And I would say that a card that does so many things in one action must be great.
Yeah. All right. So I have it at good. Again, I guess Mr. Negativity is where I'll get pegged for the.
John said great.
Shomar, you said great, and John, you're.
I did not say great, but I am saying great now, though.
Is that a straight up great? No other factors included in it, or is that just a straight up great? I'm going to agree with Shomar because Jameson has shaded me so many times this episode.
No, my choice before Shomar said anything was great. So yeah, no. No grudges, Jameson. No grudges.
Stand together. All right. Blood on the Altar. Our last one here is Keen Eye. This is a 3. And this gets into an interesting factor of the game, which is introducing permanents. Permanents start in play. So that being said, you probably only need one of them in your deck. Yeah. So you're spending 3 influence on 1. This is spend 2 resources, get +1 investigate until end of turn. Spend 2 resources, get +1 fight until the end of phase. +1 fight until end of phase. There you have a Keen Eye 3. This is an interesting card because I'm really surprised we're seeing this in the second expansion. Because I really think that this is one that I think most people are going to put a 1 of in their deck just to get it in play. But I don't know how awesome it's going to be yet. My initial thing without hashing it out is because I don't really think I think there's better ways to get the bump in combat in Guardian. Because 2 resources to get 1 is pretty steep, but it is 2 for 1 until the end of phase, and it is permanent, so it starts in play. You don't have to try and wait and find it, but I'm kind of lenient to put it in above average, guys. I mean, talk me up, talk me down.
I'm kind of agreeing with you. I feel like, it's. I'm not sure this is as good in Guardians as we think. I feel it's pricey for the fight, which I think Guardians can get fight at better resource efficiency than this, and the knowledge, or pretty much the investigate stat, so to speak. I feel that's not what Guardians really do, and I don't feel like it's that necessary. Where I do think this shines is actually in Skids. Skids can always use the extra fight. And then sometimes when he's forced to investigate, it's there too. And Skids got money to burn for the most part, usually. So, spending, this doesn't cost you anything, so you spend 4, which is, not very hard for Skids to do, and now you're at +2 for, the next, say, 2 fights you do this turn. So, it's really good. It is a really good in terms of what you get, but it's so situational in terms of having to balance the resources, and I'm not sure you most times, not saying most times, but the fact that you need the resources to get this going, same idea.
I don't think you can
puts it
play
in that same
Skids.
category.
No, you can. Skids gets 0 to 5 Guardian.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought it was, okay. Row cards 0 to 5. Guardian cards
Guardian level 0 to 2. Never mind. Can't play Skids.
Crap. Okay, so you can't.
Dang.
That might drop me then.
Yeah.
Well, a wise man in the chat, Hollis Echo, he's just telling us that it's pretty much plain old average here, Kenai.
And that would be our first real average card. I mean, I think that it's average. I totally agree with Hollis here, because if it were that the lightning abilities allowed you to pay 2 after you find out if you failed, then that'd be great. But you have to dedicate that before the skill check, and you're going to want to dedicate this obviously on your first skill test action of your turn.
Yeah, to keep it like for the full turn, right? So
then it becomes very unfortunate when you, let's say, spend the 2 resources to get investigate, hoping to use your other actions for other things, and let's say for whatever reason you draw tentacles, because it's like there's 10 of them in the bag all the time. So you draw tentacles, that $2 kind of went to waste. Now you're forced to spend another action investigating. Yes, you feel nice because you get the +1 lore or whatever, but then it kind of locks you in terms of what you want to do on your turn to get the maximum efficiency. And it's fantastic that you get it till the end of the phase, because like we said, if you're doing the same thing 3 times, if you're fighting 3 times in your turn, then this card becomes great. But when it is that you're doing other things with your actions, then I think that's where this card starts to suffer. And I think they kind of put it in, obviously knowing that it's not the most efficient card, but it's a very fun way to introduce the permanent keyword and have people kind of play with that.
Yeah, Hollis mentioned it there. He's like, and basically along the lines of where I was saying at the beginning, you're paying the premium to have it out at the start of the game. And I can't get past the 2 for 1.
The 2 for 1 sucks.
Yeah.
There hasn't really been that many times in a game where I'm like, yeah, $2, whatever, unless I'm playing Skids, of course. $2, yeah, sure. Here, take it. I don't care. But when you're playing Roland, $2 is a lot of money. Maybe not so much for Zoe, but for Roland, that's a lot that you're throwing in on that lightning bolt, whatever quick action it's called.
Anything, John? Are you pretty much middle of the barrel, average with this?
Yeah. Yep. My using this in skids got crushed. So yeah, no, yep.
All right, that pretty much takes that was the last one there. I know we didn't do it, but do you guys think we should add should we be ranking the Zoe's Cross, like the investigators' unique items on these sheets?
I think it should just be as a package because you can't split them up regardless.
Okay, so it just gets kind of rolled into Zoe.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So that pretty much concludes everything there. Like I said, the sheet will be down below, and we've done Guardian and the Guardian upgrades. So next week, tune in and we'll move on to Seeker and Seeker upgrades. And so all you Seeker fans, that's the time to show up.
Seek us out.
All you Rexaholics. Any closing thoughts on where Guardian stands right now, guys?
Very solid and well-rounded, I think.
Yep, I agree, and it's still probably. I feel like it's a pretty good beginner class to start. Most people jump into these games being, fight tends to be the most focus right now, so I feel like it's a good place. It's a good place to go, and you always feel like you have something to do.
Yeah, but looking at the spread so far of upgrades, though, they've really kind of got shafted so far with 1 average, 2 below average, and only 1 up in the positives, right? But I mean, I guess that one's a doozy because it's all the way to great. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. We'll see what the rest of the cycle shakes out for them, and who knows, maybe with the scenarios that come down the road, we'll see a shift in some of these cards, and every time we come back, we will reevaluate. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining us, guys. Again, did you have anything else to add, quick, John?
Nope, I think covered it all.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Shomar.
So long as they don't add an upgraded machete, we're good.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us today. We look forward to keeping this thing going. And thanks a bunch. Tell all your friends. Tuesday nights, this is where they come. Arkham Horror, Bad Publicity. Later.